And we're back with another video. Yes, it's only been like 2 days, although by the time I get this thing up, might be more, from my last video. And thank you for all your support on that thing. And most of you appear to have agreed with me with my prognostication about the demon values. And I'm doing that from an impartial place in my soul, knowing that I have a demon on the way. And I am fine with that demon not being worth $200 and something thousand because I don't have any intention on buying that car and flipping that car. I intend to buy that car and drive the living hell out of that car and rack a boatload of miles on that car and figure out a way to legally race that car here in California, where, I don't know, it might be hard to find some places, but I'm going to find somewhere to go and race the crap out of that car and just treat it like I treat all my cars, which is with tremendous love and adoration and appreciation for the work that went into creating these cars so that we could have fun in them, because that's what they're for. And it blows my mind, all these people buying these cars and locking them up hoping to get rich. That's what the stock market's for, real estate's for, all kinds of other investment vehicles, but these are meant to drive, and I plan to drive mine. And I hope and I pray that the values get so low on those things over time that everybody who wants one can get their hands on one to drive them, which leads perfectly into my topic of this video, which is the flippers are out, they are about, they are in full force out there with these demons. And I wanted to share with you just some thoughts on what's happening, what we're seeing on these ads, which is almost just comedic, and how you all should operate in this market. And if you want one of these things, why you should just be patient, because you might get your chance. But let's jump in the Scat Pack and have a talk. All right, let's talk about the flippers. They are out and about. They are in full force, as I said, and they are flipping these cars. And what a crazy shame it is to see this happening. In a lot of ways, it's the dealers doing it, but what I'm seeing out there is there's some individuals and more individuals doing it as well. But first, let's talk about the Mecum auctions that some of you commented saying, the Mecum auction went for like 210 or 215 or whatever, and 225 and the low twos. And that's great. And that's awesome. Now, at a Mecum auction, I would have expected a Demon 170 to go for $300,000 because of all the fluff around how they present these cars and the ultra machismo negotiating a competitive environment that they're in, where I'm going to beat that guy and that guy's going to beat this guy and this guy's going to beat that guy, and then that drives the price to the moon. And with all that juice, the huge auction fees and everything tied to marketing that car, I believe a Mecum auction or a Barrett-Jackson auction, these auctions are like the best way to fleece rich people, the best way, and to sell cars. And it's funny that none of these rich people have caught on yet. Now, I get it. If you've got a 1930s, I don't know, ultra rare, perfect car where the only one in the world's going to be offered at the Mecum auction, then how do you price that against another car? You don't. Whatever it goes for ends up being what it's worth. But when it comes to a car where there's 3,300 of these things are going to be pumped out between Canada and the United States, and it goes for $225,000, and there's, I don't know, 10 of them on eBay and a whole bunch more on Facebook Marketplace and more popping up on Car Gurus, that you can get for that price or less without all the drama and the humongous auction fees tied to it, then why wouldn't they just have done that? Unless these cars were ultra, low VINs and they wanted to get those numbered cars in the low numbers for their collection or something like that. So that's what happened at the Mecum auction. I don't think 225, I think it's 210 or 219 or something like that. I don't think that was a great price for an auction. I think all of you would agree that auctions usually fleece the living daylights out of people. So that is telling. Literally the first 30 days these cars are starting to really get delivered, and the most at one of the biggest auctions in America they could get is low twos, that's a little shocking. So now on eBay, what I'm seeing is they're being priced at, 250, 225, 279, 400,000, crazy numbers. But nobody's buying them for that. The bids are all a lot lower. So I think the one that I showed you all that was 140 a couple days ago went up to like 155 or something like that. So I think, and maybe it's going up a little bit more. There's another one that shows a bid at 190. But one thing you got to know about eBay is a lot of those deals don't go through. Just ask Stradman when he was trying to sell his Bugatti on eBay. You get a lot of erroneous offers that never ever become anything. So we don't know. We just know what it says the bid is, but we don't know until that thing finally sells what it'd go for. So let's talk about flipping. And I do have a long history, 30 years in the real estate business. I've flipped multiple homes myself and made a lot of money doing it. And let me tell you how flipping goes in the real estate business. You buy a house that needs a ton of work. The first house I bought was a prior drug dealer's house, foreclosure, had been repossessed, and was a disaster on the inside. And I needed to put, just to get it back to, move-in standards, get the pool straightened out, I had to put, I can't remember, it was probably $35,000 into the thing. So it wasn't as bad. It was mostly all cosmetic stuff, but I got all that solved. And then I was able to turn that house and make a significant profit. Now, with that house, when I was thinking about flipping it, I ended up loving it so much, I moved into it. Stayed there for 24 months so I can burn through the capital gains tax issues and get the tax-free money. And I made $250,000 on the house in 24 months. So that was one hell of a flip, and I definitely had money raining on my head doing that. But I had put the time in. I definitely put the money into the property. I had improved it over that 2 years, and ultimately I sold it along with other comparables in the neighborhood for houses in equally nice condition that didn't need any work. So that wouldn't even call that a flip, but that's, some called it that. Then my next house I only had for 4 months, and I bought that one, and I put a backyard in, and it didn't even need much. It was a pretty new house, only built maybe a year before, and I got it from somebody who was in trouble, losing the property, and it was for sale, and I went and I bought it. Maybe I put $5,000 into it or something, maybe 10, and I made a quick $50,000 net, and that was awesome. But I put the time, put the money, took the risk, did the deal. Well, here's what's happening that's very different than how house flippers, and one of my friends, I told you, super famous, the flipper flop guy, Tarek El-Moussa, dear friend of mine, been friends for many, many years, long before he had that TV show. This guy will put tens of thousands of dollars into these properties before he puts them back on the market. So lots of time, money, his own money investing into this project, risk involved, everything else, and then he flips it, makes money. Most of the time he wins, sometimes he cuts it pretty close. But overall, he's earned every penny of that. But here's what's happening with the cars, and what we're seeing on eBay and all over the internet now, is whether it's a dealer who ordered the car under somebody else's name, and the car showed up, and now the dealer, throws that price to the moon, and tries to market it online all over the place for a crazy price, or it's the two guys that are selling, the brothers that are selling two Dodge Demons, who in their commentary on eBay said, my brother bought one too, we both have one, we're selling them both, and we just decided that we wanted to buy something else. Can I call BS on that one? Would y'all roll with me on that? Yeah, right. So you got the order in back in like April or May, right? And you've been waiting all this time for the car to come, but you decided, man, I want something other than this car. But you still took delivery of these things, bought them for sticker, possibly, or maybe a low markup, and now they're putting them up in the, twos, 200 plus range, and both brothers are sitting there going, we're going to make some money, we're going to make some money. The only risk that they have is the money they put up, and maybe insurance costs, and if they financed it, the finance costs while they're trying to sell the thing. But they didn't have to do anything to the car. They didn't have to fix up the car. They didn't have to put a backyard. in the car. Obviously, they wouldn't do that in a car. You know what I'm saying? They didn't have to do anything with the car. They just take the car and then immediately put it up for sale for way more money. That's flipping. Do I have a problem with capitalism and people who find themselves in this very gifted situation in doing that? I really don't. I mean, it's their car. They can do whatever they want. And if a buyer and a seller come together in an agreement on a price and one of them wins more than the other, so be it. I really don't have a problem with that. With the dealers, I had a problem because we kind of have a trust in them that a car is priced at a certain price. But based on the Demon 170's exclusivity and the numbered aspect of these cars, I expect markups make sense. They made sense in 2018. They just didn't make sense on all the other cars that they've been doing it to us on. And certainly $400,000 for a Dodge Challenger, which has a little, you know what, another 200 horsepower or something more than a red eye, is going to cost another $150,000 or something. Then a red eye, you know, it seems like a big stretch, but it is a very exclusive car, and it may hold a place in history that allows it to be worth a decent amount of money down the road. But as I said in my last video, I don't think it's going to be more than like 150, 175, something like that. You'll see a bunch going for 200, you know, 190. You'll see that happening. So forget about the two brothers now who are now putting the cars up for sale. There's a dealership that is offering their car for sale through another dealership. So it's a dealer car, 0 miles, never been registered, but it's showing up on a non-Dodge dealer's lot for sale on eBay. So are they using their eBay account and just using them as a broker to broker the car to keep some heat off of them for that huge markup? Because like Dark Cars is getting fleeced all over the place online for what they've done with their $400,000 blue Challenger Demon 170. So they're shifting the heat over to this independent dealership that it's possible they even own that dealership to keep the heat from coming back on them, but it is a dealer car. Or that other guy with the green one who has the car in his garage. He's like, no, I have the car and I have no miles on this car. The guy probably flatbedded it to his house, and he's sitting there staring at it every day going, okay, I'm gonna make a big payday. I'm gonna make a big payday. I'm gonna make a big payday. And I'm telling you folks, that's what's happening. The flippers are out there going crazy, and they are sitting back going, man, am I gonna cash in on this car. Again, good for them. If they can find a buyer and they can pocket that money, heck, at least it's coming to the general public, and maybe they'll do some good with that money. But I wanted to make sure you all understand that the flipper is the one with the huge opportunity and in that gets the house at a great deal and takes the profit spread on that car, or with real estate, in that house. With the car, different than a house, it's likely not to appreciate much more than that already radically marked up spread at a time when everybody's in a frenzy trying to get these cars. Where with a house, at least, it ends up going for a market value. Somebody gets a loan, a bank appraises it because they're not going to allow somebody to borrow way more on it than it's worth. And absent some catastrophic drop in the marketplace, that house will appreciate over time with a 30-year mortgage, and someone will pay it off and live in it when they're old, or sell it, cash out, and move. But with a car, all that appreciation is being taken up front by the flipper. So the flippee ends up getting that car thinking, man, it's $200,000, $225,000, $250,000. At least I get one. I'm going to get this thing, and I will be, and then we start to self-justify. It's going to be okay. I'm going to be able to make my money back on this car because it's last call, you know, the historic car, 1,025 horsepower, runs the 85. I mean, there's no way I can lose my money on this car. I'm just here to tell you that if you are the second buyer or buying from a dealer with a humongous markup, you're allowing them to take all the equity that could be possibly realized over many years down the road. That likely will be realized versus MSRP. So just be careful if you're buying them on the secondary market, because you're the flip E. They're the flip-er. And if you see a flip-er asking $250,000 for the car and you think you got a deal at $200,000, just know you'll, especially if you plan to use that car. Another good point is you shouldn't be a flip E if you're buying that car to speculate. Because remember, they're taking all the appreciation up front. So if you're buying a car for max value, $200,000, $225,000, $250,000, you've taken over $125,000, $150,000 of any possible appreciation over the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. You've allowed that guy to take all that up front. You're buying a car that will likely depreciate for a while and then maybe appreciate slowly over time. But you'll probably, if you're very lucky, just like the 2018 Demon owners, you'll find yourself with a car that's worth about what you paid for it if you were the flip E. So, if you're going to be a flip E, the only reason to buy that car, and please look into my eyes when I say this, is if you plan to buy that car to enjoy that car in your lifetime and to drive the wheels off of that car, to smoke the crap out of those tires, to take it to a racetrack, to do lots of fun things with that car. Because if you're going to pay $200,000+ and you think you're going to speculate on that thing, it will be the grandest and most saddest waste of a Dodge Demon 170 ever, because you will have paid for all the appreciation and likely never see any of it, and that car will be withheld from the universe to be appreciated and enjoyed. So if you are the flippy and you have to have one, buy it to drive it, buy it to use it, buy it to enjoy it. Don't buy it to speculate, because you gave all that speculation to the dealer, or you gave it all to the flipper. You're the flippy. That car's not going up any more than what you paid for it, especially if you're in the twos. Now, if you can get one for, let's say, $125,000, or maybe a $10,000 markup, or $25,000 markup, or $30,000 markup, or something like that, you might be okay. You might actually, after, a few years, like 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, you might be able to see your money back out of that car and make a little bit. But if you're up there in that 175, 180 plus range, I'm just afraid that you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're going to regret not using the car, because you could put miles on it and it's still going to be worth, what it's going to be worth at that point. So somebody's going to say, yeah, but if I buy it for $225 and I put no miles on it, and I hermetically seal it in a climate controlled room, put one of those bubbles over it, and I let that thing sit there, and I let it sit there for 5 or 10 years, I might get $500,000 for that car, which some people have said online they think it's going to be a $500,000 car. You're going to be sadly mistaken, and you're going to look back and go, damn, it's worth, $150 now. It's worth $170 now. And you're going to go, I should have just drove it. I should have enjoyed it. So I'm going to plead to you all, if you're the flippy, don't think you're going to make money on the car. You've already paid that big price. You've already paid for all the appreciation. Drive the living hell out of that thing as it's intended to be, and as I plan to do if that thing ever shows up and I get my hands on those keys. It's going to be on like Donkey Kong. So with that, everybody, please like, subscribe, comment. Don't fall victim to the FOMO. Sit tight. You'll get one of these at a much better price, just like you can with the Demons from 2018 that are all over the internet for under $150. You can buy one right now, and that same thing will happen. Just give it a little bit of time. Thanks, everybody. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.